Okay, so welcome guys to this video module on classic group dynamics held by Maša and me. As you can see, we have Maša here. We decided to do this video module together since basically our topic is the fire cycle and team building. Since they are known as the classic group dynamics basically, so we are going to do it together. So if I forget something, Maša will add it, and I think this will be vice versa. So the first thing that we are going to talk about is the fire cycle, and
I feel like a blogger.
Currently, okay, but still. So the first thing is the fire cycle, and if you have ever wondered what does that actually mean, it means fundamental interpersonal relations orientation. So I basically looked up this on Wikipedia. So the reference isn't the best, but I think it is correct. So basically, again, reference of Wikipedia, it is a theory talking about phases of a group of people and that they go through collectively and individually. So basically, the fire cycle talks about certain phases that every group will at one point go through or should go through collectively or individually. So here in EYP we have 6 main parts of the fire cycle. For example, on Wikipedia and the theory that was given by a French sociologist, it has 9. In EYP we have 6 plus 1, the ending phase. So there's 6 main phases. So the 6 main phases are the I phase, the U phase, the honeymoon phase, the conflict, the we phase, the do phase, and the ending phase.
That's
so
7.
no, I said 6 parts plus an additional one
okay.
as an autonomous one,
Okay.
the ending phase. So now we are going to go into some details.
We really hope you can see actually our projector. It's maybe pretty bright. You wanna know? Yeah? Ah, good.
Better.
Okay.
Okay, so the first phase is the I phase. So basically every group will start with the I phase, meaning that this is where the delegates, in this case, in UIP's case, still feel as individuals and not as part of the group. So basically they are still individuals with their opinions and their way of thinking about this certain problem. And we still don't have that much of an interaction between the delegates since they don't actually really know each other. I mean, that isn't the case always, but it usually is. So after a couple of games, namely the name games, we go to the U phase. The U phase is basically when the delegates can refer to others by their personal names, and this actually opens the option for interpersonal relationships. So maybe basically mainly.
Okay.
So I can refer to Maša as Maša, and in the I phase I actually couldn't, because the problem is that I still don't actually know her name. I just know her as the curly. So, at the youth phase, the delegates actually start thinking in a more broader way, broader way, and they actually start feeling some belonging to this particular group, or in this case, the committee.
Okay, I would just like to add something about the youth phase. So, what is really common to happen here during this transition from the question of what am I doing here to what are you doing here is that the delegates can tend to be a bit judgy. There is a lot of prejudice and stuff like that going on. So when you're entering the youth phase, it is really important to keep a friendly, relaxed atmosphere so nobody is being rude or nobody is characterizing somebody just by their bad characteristics. Okay, move on.
Okay, so after the youth phase, which, if I think you noticed, I just put the I didn't put you, I just put a letter U because I know it that way. Well, I think that is the least important thing currently. Okay, moving on from the youth phase, when the delegates develop actually interpersonal relationships, they play some games, they feel nice, they feel like they are on a honeymoon. Hence the name, honeymoon phase. So yeah, after a couple of fun games and easy tasks which were carried out basically swiftly and without any problems, so they didn't have any conflicts, they didn't have any discussion basically, then comes the feeling of being unstoppable as a group. So basically this is the point when they start see themselves as part of the group, and they feel that they could do anything with this bunch of people for the next 100 years and everything will be so fine and I will miss these people so much. And there is a fake illusion of the well-being of the group. And it is rather important to, at one point, mainly in the conflict phase, to break this illusion, because you will have a lot of problems when it comes to committee work if the delegates are still loving each other and during committee work a discussion happens or a problem appears, they will feel really bad and they will be basically a bit angry during committee work, and you really don't want that, since during committee work you have to work and do things. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, are you done?
Yes.
Okay, so I would just like to add something that is really important about the conflict and inducing the conflict. If the conflict doesn't happen naturally, and it probably won't, you are going to have to induce it yourself. So during team building, this is the right time to play a game like a really hard communication game or a really intense problem solver or something like that. And another very important process that is going to happen during the conflict phase is role definition. So the conflict is going to be very useful for you as a chair, because you're going to see how each delegate behaves, and you're going to have something to look back on during team building. You're going to during committee work, because you're going to see who is actually going to be the most active and the least active during committee work, and you're going to be able to plan how to work with each delegate afterwards. Okay.
Individually.
Yes.
So yeah, basically Maša said the conflict phase, but still I would add and repeat what she said, that the problem, actually the conflict, has to come naturally. Still, when you give the delegates a problem solver, that's basically trying to create artificially a fight between them, but still the fight that will actually happen should be uh, should come from the delegates, from themselves, because of differing opinions or views on that certain issue that was given to them.
Of course, if that doesn't happen, if they, by some miracle, tend to agree on everything in that problem solver, you can always make it more difficult. You can always take it a step further. For example,
so if you want to go to the extremes, you can always give them the most frustrating game ever, and that is the lifting up game with the paper.
Yes.
Because it's basically impossible, and you can always say that you broke the rules.
Yeah.
And they will be just frustrated, and they will want to kill you.
Right.
And themselves as well.
And that's the that's the idea, that they want to kill each other, not like really like stabbing, but like the feelings.
I think they got it.
Okay. After the conflict phase, when they have a fight, they feel terrible, they think these people are playing.
Worse.
Yeah. We come to the we phase. Okay, yeah. Always after the problem solver, we will have a debriefing. That they actually, and the debriefing is the most important part here, since without a debriefing, a well done debriefing, you can't move to the we phase. It is needed for the transition to happen to the we phase. So, as I said, if the debriefing happens, and it happens as it should happen, we come to the we phase, when, again, the delegates have the feeling of belonging to the group, to the committee. Of course, they won't be as happy as like before the conflict during the honeymoon phase, but still the general level of happiness will rise a bit, so it will be an average happiness, so no one will basically feel angry, no one will feel really happy either, but they will, the most important thing, that they will feel that they belong to this group, and they will spend the next 2 days
Working in harmony.
Yeah, 3 days working in harmony with those people, like it or not. And they should like it. So, yeah. This is a phase where the delegates recognize themselves as group members, but as individuals as well, with differing opinions and views, and they get used to not having the same opinion on the same topic, and that is the core idea, because then they will actually have constructive dialogue. And this was the team building phase, and now we move to committee work. And basically the do phase, which is still in the fire cycle. So yeah, we have to understand that the fire cycle goes through the entire session. It's not something that finishes the first day on team building. Actually, the team building by some goes through the entire session. And I'm actually a fan of this idea, because I think it is true. You evolve during this session, during that process. As you as a chair, as the board, and as the delegates. So yeah, after the we phase, there is the transition to the process of committee work, where the delegates should be constructive, respectful, and maintain an average dose of happiness. And that they are eager to work, and that they want to create a resolution that they will be happy with. They have to be productive, and the quality of the work should be high as well.
Yeah, well, basically, the overall quality of the do phase very much relies on how you did in all of the phases before that. If the conflict was induced, if you did a fair amount of debriefing, and if they feel like they're belonging in a group, the do phase is going to go almost perfectly. So it is very important for you as a chair to really be observant during these phases, So when it comes to committee work, your work is going to be like 5 times easier.
Yes. And a tip of mine, so even if you are the chair, you should be to some extent part of the group, because you are the chairperson basically, you have the authority, but respect and towards you as an individual and the efficiency of the group is not based or derived from any authority itself. So you have to be, basically you have to be a part of the group, you have to have some interaction, and you have to care for your delegates. Sometimes you have to be emotional with them, if it is needed. And now we come to the last phase of the fire cycle, and it is the end phase. It is, well, even I never actually saw that as an integral part of the fire cycle, rather as an autonomous phase, but it is still important to mention. So basically the end phase happens at the end of the session, I mean, hence again the name. And that is the phase when the delegates after the GA feel a bit sad because it is ending, and they actually felt good, if they felt good, during the session. We hope they did, and they will. And they actually want to continue this with these people to work because it's basically fun for them. And now, so that they actually don't lose motivation for future events, sessions, in this case the Nationals of EYP Serbia, you have to tell them that this isn't the end, and that there is a light at the end of the tunnel.
Okay.
for them. That first regional that they went to, that isn't the end, that isn't the only session they will ever go to. They have the Nationals, and they shouldn't feel sad because EYP offers a lot more than one regional session, and basically they should apply to the Nationals, and then the doors of EYP will be open for them, wide open.
Okay, I actually wanted to add something. Another way to look at it is that the end phase actually begins with the GA. So this is all the work is basically done, and there is this euphoria going on because of the GA, and it is very important for you as a chair at this moment to explain to the delegates that they are not going back to the beginning of the fire cycle. It is not only them against the entire audience, all the other committees during the GA, and like encourage the team spirit also during the GA by passing notes and reviewing each other's speeches, writing speeches together, etc. So just to make sure that the delegates don't go actually back to the I phase when they actually should be in the end phase and wrapping up all together the fire cycle.
Yes. Okay, we have some different opinions on the end phase, but basically the main idea is the same. Okay, so as you can see, we changed the ambient because we had some technical issues. Maša is here also. So to go forward with the video module, now we are going to talk about another important aspect of the group's general well-being. It is called the collective happiness. So basically the main goal with this is that you have a satisfied and happy individuals that will reflect on the group atmosphere, so that you have an average level of happiness during committee work. That's why we actually do made the team building and for general team cohesion. So there is, we made a chart that generally shows how should happiness level go during the whole process, during the whole session. So the lowest level of happiness is at the beginning, at the I phase, when they still are individuals and they, well, may or may not know each other that well. Then the general happiness goes up when they go into the U phase, when they actually have some personal relationships with other delegates and they feel a bit more comfortable. And then we come to the peak of this so-called collective happiness at the honeymoon phase, when they basically feel unstoppable. And that is the maximum level that the happiness can go. There is no going above that. And of course, you have to bring down the happiness level, since it is not good for the committee as a whole. Then you go to the conflict phase, where the general happiness drops a lot. It's still a bit higher than during the I phase, but lower than the other phases. And then after the conflict, you have to bring back the happiness level, and then you go to the we phase when they get comfortable within the group, and you can go from the we phase to the u phase, where again the general happiness drops, and you get to the absolute average of happiness that you should maintain during committee work and during the whole session. So it is really important and necessary that the group goes through all these phases in order for you to advance to committee work, and in order to enable this change of phases of collectivism, individualism, and the combination of both, you have team building. And now Maša will talk a bit more about team building.
Okay. So this is just a bit of a basic introduction to why exactly we do team building and why is it so important for us as an organization, unlike many other debating platforms. So in EYP we give a lot of time to do quality team building for several reasons. I listed 5 in the document. First one, to improve communication, which is pretty self-explanatory. It's just that a group of individuals is going to function way worse than a group that has been working and playing some games together for a while. Next, to create an enjoyable atmosphere where after some time everybody should be comfortable enough to share their ideas, to tell anybody what they think, to not be afraid to speak up. To create motivation, of course, through some fun games and interesting activities, you're going to lift up their happiness level and they are going to be very eager to work. Getting everybody on the same page, knowing why they're here and what is it that awaits them for them, I don't know, during committee work. Yeah. And to improve team productivity, of course, this one is also very self-explanatory because they are going to function better if there has already been some role definition, if they already know a bit about each other. And
I would add, if you have high productivity, also you will probably have high quality work, since you will produce a lot more than you would.
Okay. So when it comes to team building preparation, which is essential for you as a chair, and the most important part of team building for you as a chair, there are several ways to, like, как скажи прийти к тому проблему? Approach that issue. And first I'm going to tell you about 2 that can be good but mostly are pretty bad, which are underplanning and overplanning. First, underplanning, which is for me by far the worst thing to do, because many people can just think that, oh, okay, I know some team building games, yeah, I've played them before, and I'm just gonna like go ahead and go with the flow and explain the games as we go and hope for the best, which can be pretty bad because first of all, you may not be as clear about the goal of the game, but we're going to talk about that later. And what is most likely to happen is that you're going to run out of ideas, and your committee will have just a blank space in their time that you won't know how to fill, and that can be pretty bad. On the other hand, we have something that is totally different, and that is over planning. That is when you sit down with your coach here and you grab a list and you plan out every single game like in a minute. You say we're going to play name games, and now we're going to play first, we're going to play cat and mouse, and we're going to play it for 7 minutes. And then you go on and on and on, and you have like a very detailed plan about what you're going to do for the whole day, which is again very risky because even though you have a lot of games planned, a lot can go wrong. For example, you can start team building 15 minutes late, and then your whole schedule is just going to get fucked up. And there can be many other factors like your delegates may already know each other and there won't be as much necessity for those name games. You can just go straight to icebreakers or something like that. Or your team or your committee is extremely fast by any chance in solving some problem solver, and you dedicated 20 minutes for that and they did it in 7, and now you don't know what to do because you don't know any more problem solvers. And then again, you're going to be in sort of a trouble. So what we recommend is finding like a golden middle between under planning and over planning, which is just planning in general. What I always do is I don't grab a paper, I make a document with all the games listed, like all the games I know, for name games, for icebreakers, for trust games, for communication games, whatever. Just list them all so you have them there and you know how to play them and you know what you need for each game. So you can just go with the flow to a certain extent because you can see what your committee is like, you can see if they're a bit more outgoing or a bit more reserved, and plan your team building according to that.
And another thing, I really recommend you to find the golden middle and to actually plan, because even making a crude idea about what you want to do during committee work or team building is really important. Because again, as Maša said, you don't have to overplan, you don't have to be so precise when it comes to time, but you should always have like a general schedule, like you're going to play 10 minutes about that, and okay. Maša will talk about that a bit.
Yeah. So actually choosing the games. How are you going to find the perfect game? You have a couple of criteria that you should always follow when choosing a game. You should always know for how this game should exactly be played. Yeah, you can post it. How this game is actually supposed to be played. For example, there are many ways you can play Abigail, and you can tell the story and you can share the tasks. But make sure that you and your co-chair are on the same page. Okay? That you and your co-chair are on the same page. And
I would just add something that, for example, you mentioned Abigail, you can always improvise, you can always add new things to the story, basically, especially with problem solvers, you can always make a new thing up.
yes.
And that is the point, so you can make it easier, you can make it harder depending on the committee and depending on what you have seen so far and what do you think is appropriate for that given committee.
Of course. But my point was like when having a co-chair, you both know what you're doing. So if you're doing an improvisation, you should both know that you're doing this so that something doesn't happen, like you say something and then the other co-chair steps in and says, okay, what are you doing now, why are you doing it like that, and completely messes up the game and the atmosphere and the entire goal, which is our next bullet point. So you should always know what you want to achieve by playing this game. For example, you're playing icebreakers to break the chill, to like loosen up the atmosphere a bit. You can play games to exercise focus, to improve listening, to induce conflict with the problem solvers, the communication games, to create trust, etc. You always have to know why you're playing that game and why you're playing it at that exact moment. Okay. So the next two are a bit more of a technical matter. It's how much time you're going to need to finish this game. This can always vary. You can always leave like 5 to 7 minutes, more or less, of course if it is a very long game, but always have a certain gap that you are going to expect.
In case something goes as
not as planned.
Not as planned.
Yeah, of course. And the equipment, of course, you're not going to want to play some game, for example, like spiderweb, and not have any web.
Web or trees or something to put web.
Yeah. Okay. So again, where to find team building games? We have a lot of material shared. Helena posted a lot of guides and stuff like that where you can find a ton of games. You can also ask your VIP friends, like, I don't know, the only getting to know you game I know is Two Truths and a Lie. What do you like to play, for example? And they...
Or you just visit the member platform and go to material.
Of course, but like there are a couple of ways to do that. Also, the most logical one is from your memory, like what do you like to play? But also keep in mind that what do you like to play is not as important as what does this game have to achieve. Going back up. When playing team building games, there are a couple of degrees of comfort the delegates can feel. The first one is the safe or the comfort zone. Those are like the easy games at the beginning of the team building, like name games as such, when the delegates are not really pushed and are not really made to do anything they don't feel as comfortable doing. And the next one, and the zone that we are actually trying to stay in almost for the entire session, is the stretch zone. Trying. But the stretch zone actually means that they have to push themselves a bit more to do something that they're maybe not as comfortable with doing. But still, it is not something that makes them panic. It is not something that is going to mess with their heads, mess with the entire committee's atmosphere and energy. It is just something that is a bit of a motivation, a bit of a push that helps you work on yourself. But the next thing is the panic zone. It's when we take a game too far too soon. For example, you are just starting team building and you're going to play some extremely uncomfortable, touchy-feely icebreaker that many of the delegates may not like, and they can feel very uncomfortable for the rest of the session and not willing to participate as much. So it is very important to stay within the stretch zone and not cross into the panic zone. Okay, the next thing is actually dividing the team building games into certain sections, but of course connecting it with the fire cycle, because it wouldn't make sense just to talk that much about fire cycle and not actually implement it anywhere. So in the I phase, Andor explained actually already to you, it is best to play name games and some easy icebreakers that are not going to be as demanding for the beginning of the session. So we have some games listed here. You can find them in the materials, and also there is going to be a round of brainstorming activities in Slack afterwards, where you can share your games that are not on here that you really like playing and think are great. But we have a couple listed here. So first, during the I phase, we have the name games and the icebreakers, then some more icebreakers during the U phase. Those are a bit more touchy-feely, a bit more extreme, and they always have to come after the more relaxed ones. After that, we have getting to know you games to actually start communicating with the other delegates, and of course trust games to begin to build a team. So we have a couple here listed as well. And after that comes the conflict phase, where you can play some really complicated communication games. You can play some problem solvers. You have to play some problem solvers actually. And we talked about this phase a lot, so here are just some examples again. And the last phase, that when we're talking about team building, at least, is the we phase, and this is like the most relaxed, most friendly time of the team building, because everybody is already comfortable, everybody has done some debriefing, and we can just play some community shouts and chants, some competitions against other committees to like strengthen the bond between our committee members.
You can make a flag as well.
Yes,
if you
of
have
course.
material.
Yeah, and it is basically the end. It's wrapping up team buildings, maybe talking a bit about our hopes and fears about the committee work, etc. So basically that would be it. As I told you, there are going to be some places to put your favorite games on so everybody can see them. And I think that would be it. I think we are done. Okay.
Well, yes, we covered what we
wanted to, basically.
So classic group dynamics, including fire cycle and team building, some general things. I hope you find this video module not that cringy and
at least a bit useful. We had fun playing vloggers. Yeah.
Yeah. We actually know how is it to shoot videos.
Yeah.
And modules. But kind of.
Yeah. Okay, so we are done. We can't wait to see your modules, and we can't wait to see you at the session, and that's it.
Yeah, lots of hugs from Novi Sad.
No,